Welcome to Queers and Quills, the official podcast. I'm audiobook narrator Kirt Graves. Every episode, I invite an attending author or narrator to join me for a one-on-one conversation about their lives and their art, so attendees and readers from across the world can get to know them not only as professionals, but as people. Joining me today is Sloane Kennedy. Sloane is an independent gay romance novelist with over 50 published stories. When she's not writing, she's taking care of her 7 cats, 3 dogs, and 2 horses. She attributes her... Now it's 4 dogs, my gosh. She attributes her success to the support and loyalty of her readers. She considers it the greatest compliment when readers love a secondary character so much that they ask when that character will get their own story. She loves it when a book hits the mark, especially when it addresses issues faced by someone dealing with similar struggles, and is glad to be a voice for those who need one. Welcome to the podcast, Sloane. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. So, who do we have joining us today? Let's meet some of our friends, our furry friends.
I have 4 right here. I have 3 cats and a dog. There's the dog. This is Elle. She's actually been to some conferences with me.
So precious.
This is Violet.
Hi. Ooh, we love the black and
that one
white.
Back there is Cutie Patootie. And then you can't see him, but on top here is Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
He's in that top basket, so.
My parents have a Charlie, a little dog that's smaller than most cats. Good name. Well, if any more make themselves known, welcome to the podcast.
You'll see them.
You know,
they'll walk right across the screen.
This is what podcasts are. It's just a little slice of real life. So, let's start at the beginning. How did you become an author? What's your author origin story?
So I had always liked writing when I was younger, like in my late teens, early 20s, and I actually wanted to be a screenwriter. And so I would write a whole bunch of scripts for myself. I thought they'd actually get into the movie business, but then I learned how hard it is to get into the movie business. And at that point, I had written myself a novel for some reason, but it was something just for me. It was never going to be public. And then I went on and lived normal life for many, many years. And then it just came down to I was out of money. I couldn't pay some bills. And by pure luck, I happened to see on Amazon at the very bottom, it said publish your book with us or something like that. And so I thought, okay, I'll check it out because I knew I had the one book in a drawer somewhere. And so I dug it out. I updated it. I threw it online. It was an MF. It was ridiculous. And I mean, all I did was update newspapers to tablets and stuff like that, because that's how old it was.
Oh, wow.
And so even to this day, I don't really advertise because technically, for those who've read my Protector series, the character was initially developed in this first book. He was a side character. And so then someone said to me, what about so-and-so? Does he get a story? And that's how the Protectors were born, just by pure, again, spontaneity, I guess.
Right.
So I got it up there and it made me a little bit of money. So then it was like, wow. And so I started writing that night. I worked full time. I wrote at night for about 5 hours. And I did that for weeks on end. And as soon as I was done with the book, I'd throw it up there. And it wasn't until I got to my 3rd book in my first true series that I decided to try gay romance. Even though I'd read tons of it, I didn't think I was qualified to write it. And so, but then it was like I got to this one character, Logan, and I'm just like, well, who's he's going to end up with? And then I'm like, I have this character, Dom. Maybe I should just see what happens there. And so that's the one thing about writing is you write something not realizing it's going to come back later at some point. So you write characters a certain way, and then all of a sudden they become secondaries at some point. So from there, it was just a matter of building it over a few years until I had the guts to go full time. And I did, and that was really scary, but best decision I ever made. So
how long ago was that first published book?
I am celebrating my 10-year anniversary.
Oh, wow.
So March would have been 10 years. I'm actually trying to come up with a special edition book for Logan's Need because that book was released on May 17th, 10 years ago.
Wow.
and people just still love that book. And so, uh, yeah,
Congratulations.
it's 10 years. I mean, I don't know where time goes as quickly as we get older, but it just seems
It,
to
go-
fly
it
by.
goes so much faster as you
It was
get
so
older.
slow as a teenager, and you wanted to be an adult so bad, and now it's like,
I
what was I
know.
thinking?
I know.
Adulthood is hard.
It is hard. It is hard. And I mean, it said it in your bio, but like that over 50 books over the
Yeah,
course of 10 years. Like if you like it's like okay, 50 books over 10 years, but when you do the math, it's like, well, that's 5 books a year.
it
And
was
maybe not
early on.
exactly
I was
that,
like,
but
the
like
first couple years, it was like 10 books a year. Because there was
insanity.
so much up there, I just had to get it out. And even as I was finishing one book, my thoughts were already on the next book. Um, and I couldn't get it out fast enough. And then, things just kind of, you can only go so fast for so long. And then,
Yeah.
I moved and my mom got sick. I lost a cat that was very hard on me for it actually kind of broke me for a few years. And so everything kind of slowed down for the last several years. So um, it's a little scary to go from, being at the top, so to speak, and then kind of having to start your career somewhat over again or accept that, you're just going to kind of be steady and true. And then it
Yeah.
may not be the big, constant increase of money and sales and such. So it 10 years ago, if you told me I was going to slow down and barely get 2 books out a year, I've been like, you're crazy. But now it's like, more than 2 books? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, yeah. I'm at the more than 2 books. Are you kidding me phase now, and I haven't written any. Um, where? So I mean, in that arch, where are you now in the swing back?
I'm trying to rebuild now. So I'm never very I'm not closed off about things, or that's the wrong term, but I'm pretty transparent with my readers because they've been so good to me and they've been there for me. A lot of them from the very beginning, 10 years ago, and so I've just been really fortunate that I've had that ongoing support for so many years. But certainly, after you're kind of out of the scene for a few years, things don't just you know, come back the way they were. I mean, you wouldn't expect them to. So now I'm trying to look at it with a positive spin that I have a new audience potentially out there, um, and that will hopefully. I won't, like I said, won't necessarily need to go all the way back to where I was, but I'd like to get to a point where I can now start slowing down and still being able to plan out, future and retirement eventually and all that. So it's definitely also a lot harder as you get older. For those of you who are nice and young, my brain doesn't work the same way it does, and so I cannot write as fast, whether it's mentally speaking or just physically having enough energy. So that's
Yeah.
another reason I can't get those books out there as quickly.
Well, thank you for talking about that because I feel like that is the sort of thing that I think we're trained to try to hide from people.
Right.
And especially like over the last few years, like I definitely went through periods. 2020 was a big one, where it just became really hard to be creative,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
and to talk with other artists about like how sometimes it's just hard, and sometimes those periods can last for a long time. It's
They
not
can.
like it's not like I'm really feeling down this week, but by next week I'll be okay. Like it can be months, it can be years, and sometimes it's for reasons that people understand, like a global pandemic or a death in the family, and sometimes it's just like I don't know, man.
You're burned out.
I'm burned out. My brain's not working the way it used to.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that I think we're afraid to talk about sometimes or admit because then, yeah, will the audience just run away from us because they think we're done and over with? Time to move on.
Well,
But
and
really,
things
we're
I
just
think in
humans.
the market change too. I mean, the types of subjects might change while you're kind of gone from it. So that could be an issue too. I'm not as good about keeping up with the business side of things. I've never been one for like looking at the current trends. I just write whatever I feel like because that's the only way I can write.
Hmm.
So in terms of what's out there now versus 4 years ago, when I was still at my strongest, it's different. It's not the same anymore. The topics aren't the same. I can tell you, I don't recognize probably 95% of the authors that I see on different lists and stuff because, again, been gone too long.
Yeah.
So, and I'm
And
sure they
it
look at my name and they're like, who the hell is this? Like,
oh, doubt
which
it.
is fine.
And the genre keeps expanding too. Like
It does.
there's more new authors in a year now than one could possibly keep up with.
Right.
So it's an unenviable task to come back to this market, and it's an unenviable task to enter the market for the first time right now. There's just a lot. There's a lot to have to
There is.
contend
Yep.
with, and you're really fighting for people's attention in a landscape that's constantly changing. How do we reach people? What app is in this week? What things can and can't I talk about that will get me, that the algorithm will like, and like if I say this word, the algorithm won't like me anymore, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's
Definitely.
tough. It's tough. So thanks for being willing to talk about that. You mentioned that you were a little concerned about writing your first book,
I was, yes.
but you've built a career out of it now. So what was it about those characters that really spoke to you and said, no, these are the books I'm meant to be writing?
I think it's the same as reading because I've been reading romances since I was a teenager, and I would sneak off to the library or I'd join one of those book of the club, like you'd get a 4-pack of romances, for a monthly price or whatever. And I'd be
Mm-hmm.
so excited to get the box of the paperback romances because there was no such thing as Kindle way back when.
Book
So,
subscription services.
yeah, I couldn't afford it for too long, but I was reading basically from that time on for quite a while, probably I'd say at least 20 years, if not more. And ultimately, you kind of get tired of one genre, which I was started off with traditional, because again, back then, gay romance was not really a thing, 30 years ago. Um, so I found that I kind of got tired of the MF dynamic and I use that actually in my upcoming book. I use the comment damsel in distress, but because I was getting tired of those books. So I started to try something that was a little more edgier. Um, so then it would be kind of a little more erotic or just a different topic, or it would be like threesomes or whatever. It would be something. And then as I was in that phase, I started to read some of the books had secondary characters that were either gay or they had like threesomes where it was like MMF or so I started, kind of trying different things, and then it was just that gradually went to introduce me to this whole new genre of gay romance, and then once I started that, I think like a lot of people, I couldn't go back, and at that point, I had already committed myself to writing my next MF book because I had built it that way that the next person who'd
Mm.
fall in love would be this guy with a girl. I'd already hinted at it, so I couldn't have changed it anyway. So I thought initially I could do both. But it turned out that once after I wrote Logan's Need, that bug bit me and there was no going back. And so once I got past what I'd committed to do, then it was just MM from there on out. I think I wrote like one MMF. And again, that was more of because the character happened to be a woman. And I thought, okay, what, because every once in a while I like for like things like Rare, which is another event that has MF authors as well. And pretty well-known ones. I would write like an MF book there, a very short one, to try to give out to potential MF readers to come over to the other side,
Lure them, to
come over to the
lure
good
them.
side.
Yeah.
um, yeah, and then from there, it was just there was no stopping me. And when I had to include a woman, it was it was actually very difficult. I didn't enjoy writing them either, so it wasn't easy. It was forced, and it's it's tough when you force a book. You should try never to have to do that, but sometimes it's necessary. So,
Yeah. Well, and you had said too that a lot of like you have the Protectors series, but that a lot of other things are sort of tied into that.
yes,
So you have like a written universe,
I do.
you know?
And again, when I started, again, I wasn't good with the business. I didn't track what authors were. I basically stopped reading at that point when I started writing because I became too intimidated that uh, about the reviews and such. And so I just stayed away from all that as much as I could over the years and wrote what was in my head because, again, I have to get rid of it in order to get rid of it and move it to the next one. Um, so it was just a matter of, how do I do this? Because I wasn't ready to let characters go. You're supposed to end a series and move on, and I couldn't. I couldn't let them go. So I
Mm-hmm.
loved them too much. They were too real to me, and so I just decided, okay, well, I'm just gonna do a couple of these where they link in, and then I enjoyed that process so much I couldn't really stop. And it became to the point that it got way too confusing. Even now, I'm still writing books that I had kind of already hinted at with characters, and so I have to kind of write them because people still ask me about them. That's the big thing is like I wrote that MMF book I wrote, there was a side character who disappeared, because, some bad guys came and got him or whatever, and you never hear from him again type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that was an MF book, so I didn't MMF. I didn't really expect any, a lot of readers to read it, but they did, and they're asking me, well, what happened to Dylan? And every year, that was like 6 years ago that I wrote that one, and I still get those questions. So finally, Dylan's gonna get his own story, but it's way out of order. It's now book number 15,
Wow.
whereas her book was way back here at number, like, 5,
Mm.
So that's where things get all kind of out of order. I tried doing a chart for a while, but it got so big, you couldn't get it on a page. So then it came down to the reading orders. But then I had to go with, okay, if I do the reading order, then they start way back at the beginning where I was 10 years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
that writing is not the same as it is today. So it's like, I don't want to
No.
steer them toward my less strong books. And then, so then I tried to sell it off as doing the protectors first to kind of draw you in. And then once it sucked you in, then I would let you go off to the next um, older books to
Yeah.
to get through those. Because then by then you knew, okay, well, she can write. These just aren't so great. So I
I
had to
do.
justify myself to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. You do always want somewhere for there to be on your early projects, like just a little badge
Oh,
or something that
asterisk.
says
Hey, I'm
like,
better now. This is
right.
old.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is old. This was early stuff. That's great. And I'm thinking of your story about Dylan and thinking like when parents have to tell their kids that the family pet has gone to live on a farm, like he's happy. Don't worry, readers. He's happy. He's off somewhere doing his
Well, I have had
thing.
readers ask about characters like, oh, I know he was a bad guy, but will he ever get in the story? And it's like, well, probably not, seeing as how I killed him off at the end of the book. So it's like, again, people just see that, potential next character. And just like all of us who've read these books, we get so excited as soon as we see that name pop up. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, will they get a story? And that's
Yeah.
almost all you can think about until you get to the end. And then it's like, okay, what's next? What's next? And when there's a whole bunch of books in front of you, that's great. But when there's not, I mean, I'm learning that with television shows. The Witcher, one of my favorite shows. And I've been addicted for years now. And now they've gone and changed the actor for the main character.
Hmm.
And I watched him and I heard his voice and it's like, it's not him. So you
Yeah.
get so invested in these television shows. It's the same for readers with books. They get very invested and those characters become a part of their lives. They become a
Yeah.
part of the author's lives. So it's not easy to let go of them and just, say, okay, on to a whole new, you know, group of characters and then go from there. Because I mean, I literally could just go on forever with building side characters and planning, their books. But it does also get a little intimidating to people that they don't want to pick up a book from a brand new author they've never read that is the part of like a 30 book series. They just see that and think, oh my God, how am I going to keep that straight? But once they start, a lot of the times they feel it and they get hooked in. So
Yeah. I was gonna say, how do you keep anything straight?
don't
You
anymore.
don't. You
I
just
have
don't.
people
Like
like I had someone email the other day, like, what happened? Why didn't you mention so and so's sister? And I'm like, or why didn't you
what?
mention the sister? And I'm like, what
The
sister?
sister.
And then I'm like, wait, do you mean this one who's like off in a law firm somewhere that, so they
Hmm.
remember those characters in that level of detail. And I have to go back now. I used to remember them very well. but I have a family of like Alzheimer's and dementia, and so I'm starting to experience, I think, a lot of some of the symptoms that could just be old age. But it's again, if you ask me to name a certain character from a book 5 years ago, I would have been like, done. And now it's like, hang on, let me go look at my
Right.
Kindle,
Yeah.
So I wish it wasn't so, but that's the way life is. So
Yeah, exactly. It's better than the alternative.
that's true.
Yeah, yeah. So if somebody was coming to your work for the first time, you said you would point them towards the Protectors series.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't at this point if they were coming for the
Oh,
first time. Only because, again, my writing has changed, and I'd like to give like a good picture of where it is today. And
yeah,
that's why if people are starting with that very first book in the whole entire universe, that's an old book that I wrote 10 years ago. Again, the writing much more cheesy and the story really compacted and so I'd write it a million different ways now. But uh I would probably recommend Locked in Silence, which is the first book in my Pelican Bay series, which is kind of a small town in northern Minnesota. And so the books kind of revolve around the towns. So that book is it's about two men from the same small town of Pelican Bay, um, but one has left. So they were basically same high school body. So I think they were in the same grade. Yeah, they were. They were in the same grade, and the one was bullied quite a bit, and the other like was the jock, but never really stood up for him. He didn't necessarily take part of you know, the direct abuse or the bullying, but he didn't stop it, and that's something he has to live with. But it ended up where he was the one who was supposed to get out of the town and go live this superstar life, but and then the other one, his parents didn't expect much and, no one really cared what was going to happen to him. Well, he was the one who turned out to go and live, this great life until he's forced
hmm,
to come back to help with his father who's suffered a stroke. His name is Nolan, by the way, the character. And then the other one is Dallas. And so what's happened with Dallas is he's become mute, actually. And so he and Nolan have to figure out a way to communicate with one another when they come face to face. And it ends up being Nolan who's the only one that really gives him a chance and truly, gets him and understands what he's trying to say without the actual words. And so that turned out to be a um, pretty big book, I think, for people and that series again is the one I get, a lot of questions about too, like what's the next book? And so it's been, and that I got to kind of spread my wings a little bit with that series and try different things. I'm very good at if someone says to me, "Hey, can you write a book about this?" And I'm like, let's see, So I enjoy that. Where in this case, the challenge was from a friend of mine. She said, "I'd like to see a book where you write about like a disability or something like that." And so that's why I said, "Okay, let me see
yeah.
if I can do it." So.
Is Pelican Bay a real place?
It is not. It is
Okay.
based on, a town, which some people might recognize called International Falls in Minnesota. It's well known for its always having, like, one of the coldest temperatures in the country.
Hmm.
And I live in Wisconsin, which I hate. I hate the winters here with a passion. They are so bitterly cold. And
Yeah.
so it made me think of International Falls because I grew up in a very protected kind of wasn't small town necessarily, but in the suburbs where it was
Hmm.
nice and protected, so to speak. Um, so I just tried to think of, okay, well, someone who's, that small town dynamic, but add in like the god awful winters and stuff
Yeah.
because that becomes part of a story, the weather, the
Yeah.
townspeople, all that. So
Yeah. I ask because my husband is from northern Minnesota, northwestern Minnesota.
oh, okay.
So I travel through northern Minnesota rather frequently, and there are a lot of towns that have names exactly like that. And I was
Right.
like, is there actually a Pelican Bay? Have I driven through a Pelican Bay? And like, we take vacations up by like Lake Superior and we cross into Canada. So like that whole area, fortunately, we only go there during the summer because I'm also in Wisconsin.
You'd make it
I
through
don't,
winter.
I don't need to make it. I don't need it to be any colder, than right here at home. So yeah, it's,
And where are you?
I'm in Green Bay.
All right.
Yeah.
So, and I'm in the Waukesha area. So
Okay.
we're not that far apart.
Not
That's
far at
crazy.
all. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well, then you know what I'm talking about, Wisconsin.
oh yeah,
You know,
well, and having grown up here, I actually am like, our winters are so mild now.
that's true. They are, sadly.
It's
I
like,
mean,
yeah, it's like,
they've been so much worse. But even now, as you age again, it's like I went to California a couple times now, and it's like, why can't we have this weather but without
yeah.
earthquakes and stuff?
Oh,
So,
trust and believe, we will be snowbirds as soon as my husband retires because I can work from anywhere.
right.
So
Me
when
too. And I'm
he's
looking.
done, I'm out.
Yep.
Like, we are out of here during the winter. I do not want to shovel or snow
Tell me
blow.
where you're going because I cannot figure out where to go. I don't want to move to a red state, and I'm not trying to be political, but I
No,
just don't.
totally get it.
But at the same time, I want warm weather, but I can't live in the California because it's expensive and there's earthquakes. And Oregon and Washington, which I've been in Washington for quite a while at one point. They're all so expensive,
Yeah.
and so it's where do I go? And then it was like, okay, well, I'll leave the country. Well, it turns out Americans aren't so welcome anymore
No.
in a lot of countries.
No. Although
So
I did see, I think it was on CBS Sunday Morning, they interviewed a couple who moved to Malta. And apparently that was a
have heard
really
about
great experience. So
yeah, it's a
Malta
really,
could be
really
on the list.
small island, though. I think, like
Yes.
out in near Greece. Or
You gotta be one of the first people to get there. But otherwise, our plan is actually to try a bunch, like every winter, try somewhere different until we find a place that we want to go to again and again.
yeah.
So I don't know where we'll end up. We're
Right.
gonna try a bunch of different places.
Yeah, with
and see how it
7
goes.
cats and 3 dogs, and horses, which the horses
Yeah.
will probably have moved on to their next life by then. But it's kind of hard to think about moving across the world to another country with all those animals and
Fair.
stuffing them into the bottom of a plane. And I'm just I don't as pretty as of an image as it is. It's like, and then
It's
to be
certainly not
completely
something you would want to
alone,
do more than once.
right?
Like, you would have
And
to
to be
know,
completely
I'm going here and I'm
alone
staying
in
there.
a foreign country when you're getting older, it's a little scary because
Yeah, no. Join a
you don't have
commune.
someone to advocate for you and keep an eye on you. So
I'm an advocate for communes. Like, I'm hoping a lot of our friends come with us wherever we end up, and we can just build a little
wouldn't that be
neighborhood,
nice?
a little neighborhood of queers hanging out in the winters in a warmer climate, and then we just get to be old and retired and have fun. So,
Well, my brother wants to move to Florida, so if he gets a place, I'll be sure to let you know, and you
all
guys can
right.
go. Take his second bedroom, swim in the pool he wants. So
Yeah.
when I'm not there, of course.
Exactly. Okay, so we are supposed to play a game. We're running short on time, but
Okay.
we'll do a few rounds. Are you ready
Okay,
for this?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm
So
ready.
the rules of the game are simple. I have a deck of cards. On each card is a question. The questions are aiming to learn more about you personally. So some are biographical, some are hypothetical, some are just silly. But I will not be picking which questions you're going to answer. Fate is going to do that for us. I'm going to deal 3 cards every round, and you choose one, and whatever card you pick, you are agreeing to answer. But you have a couple of outs, so you can either turn the tables on me once and make me answer the question, or you can choose a card from the white deck, and that's a more bookish question. But that time you only get dealt 1 card and you have to answer it. So I know
Okay.
I rushed through those rules.
Not good with my brain, but
So if you have questions,
what to do.
let me know. So, all right, round 1, card 2, or card 3.
Card 2.
Card 2. What would be the creepiest thing you could say while passing a stranger on the street?
Gosh, I would never say anything creepy. Um, I don't know. I guess I'd make because what creeps me out is any kind of like just out of blue comment, like if you said something like, "Oh, the aliens dropped me off for the day, so I could go shopping." So if I
Yeah.
said something like that, because that creeps me out when people say random things and you're expected to respond, and it's like, how do you respond to something like that?
Yeah. I'm very much in the boat with you. Like, basically anything that a stranger said to me on the street, I would consider creepy.
Right.
Like, why are you talking to me?
I feel like I'm one of those magnets that, invites creepiness.
You look too open and welcoming. I work hard to not seem that way.
There you go.
At least walking down public streets. All right. Card 1, card 2, or card 3?
Card 1.
Ooh, what nickname have you had that you hated?
Oh, this one's going to you. Do I get to send that one to you?
Sure, you can.
Because I don't have nicknames. Thank God.
So, I mean, Kirt appears in a few different words. But like, I didn't hate any of the ones that actually had my name in it. I mean, obviously there were the names I was called in high school that I would not repeat on a podcast all these years later. So those are probably my least favorite. You know what? I'm going to turn the tables and say that there are some I actually really liked. My parents called me Charlie Brown when I was little. And I imagine just me being like a mopey little kid and that fitting perfectly because that seems right. And then I had an acquaintance in high school. I did not know her well, but for some reason, instead of Kirt, she called me Kirtrick. Like she was combining Kirt and Patrick. And I was like,
yeah, that's cute.
I was like, I don't know why, but I think that's adorable. Because it's not like Curdy or Courteous or... it's like the first thought names. She went with Kirtrick, and I was like... I
do that with my cats, actually. They all have nicknames, which I'm sure if they could speak, they'd say, she calls us by the stupidest things on the planet.
Oh, I would say we only have 2 dogs, but each of them have like 3 nicknames.
Yeah.
And they are individual to the dog, so...
And do you talk baby to them? You have to talk baby to them.
We sort of talk to them in our pet voice. It's not quite the same as baby talk. But it's approaching baby talk. It's close.
Voice. I like that.
Yeah, we have pet voice.
Yep.
Like it sounds kind of dopey. There's a little bit of a lisp. Like, hello, how's it going? Like that sort of thing. But it's not quite the same as baby. So, all right, card 1, card 2, or card 3?
Card 3. Wait, when do I get to ask for a white card?
Anytime you don't like the question.
What's a white card again?
It's just a more bookish question.
Can we do a white card then?
All right, discarding that one. Here we go.
Sorry, I'll say it sooner.
No, it's...
Okay,
we only get the one, so...
Okay, that's all right. We're running out of time, you said anyway, so...
Yep. If you could be best friends with any book character, who would it be?
Is it only best friends, or like, can you do hero worship too? Because
you wouldn't want to be best friends with somebody you worship?
The strong, tough guy, even if he wasn't romantically available. So I'd have to go with Vince from Defiance, which is book number 9 in my Protector series. I really like that character because he doesn't apologize for anything. The first time we meet him, he's like, he's around all these guys that we as readers, like and are like, yeah, you should help them because they're awesome. And his attitude is, hey, I'm not helping anyone. I'm here because someone forced me to come here type thing. And then he has this kind of unforgivable look at life. And then you have Nathan coming along and just completely shattering that, So someone like that, it's always fun to watch kind of they're good down.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Last round here.
Okay.
Card 1, card 2, or card 3?
Now card 3.
Now card 3. That's a dumb one. I'm picking a different one. Okay. Toilet paper, over or under?
It always has to be over.
That's the right answer. That's the right answer. Good job.
And for those of you with cats, they do sell little boxes to put over your hanging toilet paper. On Etsy.
Smart.
Very nice.
Very smart.
I have a toilet paper murderer in the house, so she can no longer get to the toilet paper. Now, here's my skinniest little girl. She's got some illness kind of going on. That's Mia. She is one of my oldest. That's another fun fact about me. I have named pretty much every character after an animal, so all my animals are characters in books. She is in she's Loving Vin. She's the main female character. So
okay.
Mia.
Do their personalities make it into the characters?
Not really, but that's probably a good idea.
I mean, if you're running out of them, it doesn't seem like you are, so.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah. But thank you, Sloane, for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it, and it was nice to get to chat with you.
I'm a talker, so
yeah.
next time you'll be aware.
That's great.
I don't stop talking.
For a podcast, that's exactly what we're looking for.
I'm so quiet in real life, and here I can't stop. Thank you for having me.
It was my pleasure. And thank you, listeners, for joining us for Queers and Quills, the official podcast. If you're already signed up to attend Queers and Quills, make sure to say hello to me and to Sloane at the Oregon Convention Center in May. And if you're not, follow Queers and Quills on Instagram to follow along with all the fun this year and get updates about ticket availability in the future. Until next time, I'm Kirt Graves, and I hope you're having a very gay day. Queers and Quills, the official podcast, is produced and hosted by Kirt Graves, in coordination with Mahogany Mail and Marley Valentine. All copyrighted material is shared with permission. Music and sound effects are licensed through Storyblocks Audio. All opinions shared are those of the individuals and do not reflect the positions or policies of any company or organization with which they happen to be associated.